Good evening, everyone. I think this is going to be part 8 or 9, I can't remember which one it is, of this ZZR14 rebuild, or ZX14R as what it is called in America and most of Europe, I think, as well. Last night I finished off with trying to put a lot of the loom in various different places back on, and bits and bobs that needed to go, more the finicky stuff than the stuff that's time consuming but has to be put back on. I've had a few parts through from Kawasaki again today. I've had the snap bolts for the top yokes so I can put the ignition barrel back on, which means I'll show you what these snap bolts actually do. And also I've got another hose that will come through, water hose come through, and I have also got the what am I thinking now? I've lost. Oh, all the other washers and like rubber washers for the ignition barrel and everything, so that the vibration doesn't get to the immobilizer part of the ignition. But I think the immobilizer may well be in the barrel. I'm not 100% sure on these. Someone could probably correct me on that. And I've also got a few other bits and bobs through from Robot titanium stuff for the front forks and a bit for the rear end as well. So I will start off probably by doing the top yokes, so I can actually start getting the handlebars back on and the switch gears back on and the buttons I use for my electronic gear changes, etc. and stuff like that. And I should be able to start then, because I've got that back on. I could probably put the clutch slave cylinder back on, the inner sprocket back on. No, actually no, I won't, because I haven't got the chain for it yet, and it'll be easier to put the chain on if I can get access to the inner sprocket. So I won't be putting the clutch cover on, which goes over the inner sprocket. So I won't be doing that side of things. But a lot of other bits I'll be doing as well, and also when I start doing the pinch various bits and bobs, I will explain to you. It's like with various different things like putting the front wheel on, and you know what I'd advise and don't advise, sort of thing on certain stuff. And we'll go from there really. It's just going to be a suck it and see where we get and what we do. I would like to be a bit more organised and be able to give you a rundown of what would be done on the next part of each video. But as I start doing things, because it's been so long since I built one from the ground up, it'll be like, well, hang on a minute, I shouldn't have done that first, I should do this first, because I'm going to have to take it off again later. So that's why it seems to be a bit of a mixed bag every time. But hopefully you don't get too bored watching these videos, and you will actually be able to see the reason why I seem to backtrack and everything. I'm hoping to get this rear shock on as well. I'm going to have to use the strap that's on the back end to hold the back end up. You can see it just dangling there. That strap to hold the back end up while I get the shock off, because otherwise the shock will fall to the floor. Sorry, the back end will fall to the floor when you take the shock off, because there's nothing else holding it up. Basically, it's just the rear shock that holds the bike up to the level it is at the moment. I could, in theory, get the rear wheel on. I need to check the rear wheel bearings as well. As you saw, I noticed the front was a bit gritty, so I changed the front wheel bearings before I put the front wheel back on. So I'm going to have to check the rear wheel bearings, and when I come to do the rear wheel, I will show you on the tyre that's on it still where about the grip broke away and re-grip back again on the rear tyre. There's actually markings there to show you actually what happened, and which was what made me high side the bike in the first place. Okay, I'll speak to you shortly. Hi, I'm going to explain to you how about these torque bolts for the ignition valve. Here's one of the torque bolts here. Focusing on it, let's put my hand behind it, focus in, there we go. There's a little hex on the top, so a 4mm multi-spline socket will go on that. Right, and you see it's very, very tiny. It has thread lock on it already. Now, what you do is you put your ignition barrel in there the way it goes. A rubber seal. We think, are these for these? In order and with this, so let's have a look. Yeah, the size of the hole is the same. Yeah, rubber seal, one on one side, one on the other side of the ignition barrel, followed by a washer and then you put the torques in, snap bolts in, and I'd put both of them in first and go so far down with them to the just about pulling it home, but don't tighten it tight, because you want to get both in evenly first. And then what you do is you tighten them down, each one, until that little spline at the top there, focus in on me please, that little spline there will snap off. And then what that does is it makes it difficult for anyone to actually replace the ignition barrel, ease of use, by just unscrewing it. Unfortunately, people nowadays, if they really wanted to do it, they'll do it anyway. So that's how that works really. Whether I should be telling you this on YouTube, but it just, you know, by the time you've got all the panels and everything on, it's quite difficult to get off, because you know, it's stuck with the steering lock more than anything. And basically, you know, if you had an easy bolt or Allen keys, you could undo it and then just get the steering lock off quite easy on the bike. Unfortunately, this day and age, I've seen them push handball on a bike into a van and then do it later. But you know, unless you've got a tracker on your vehicle, it's quite difficult to get your vehicle back then in normally in that circumstances. I do have particularly trackers on most of my vehicles. I've now put those snap bolts on. I can show you what one will look like after it has been done. They look like that after they've snapped off. So as you can see, it can be quite difficult to get on. What I've done here now as well, I've put my right hand handlebar on now. Show you on the inside, the bolt is there, right? And I will nip them up once I have got a bit more on the forks, because the forks are a little bit lower at the moment. They should come up to the top, almost where that paint ends up a bit higher, which then clears all what would be brushed aluminium underneath. It will not be painted even from the factory so much, because the shock absorber, the front fork, will rub that away as time goes on. So that's the height of really the front forks are on these as standard. I'm showing you on this one, I haven't it in. On each bar there's a locating plug underneath, so a pin, so you can not put them on wrong unless you make sure you put the right one on the right side, because they are different, because the locating hole for the switchgear are in different places on each bar. So you need to make sure you put the right bar on the correct side. I'm going to put this one on that side now, but I'm not going to thread lock this one down. Oh yeah, on these particular bolts on the top, use red high strength thread lock. It's steering components, you do not want them coming loose while you're on the road, especially if you're doing like motorway speed and then for something you've got to try and slow down with a bar that's coming off. It's not very nice at all. So use red thread lock. I use Loctite 271 high strength thread lock, which is a red in colour on them. They're normally, not in all cases, normally blue is medium, red is high strength. I think green is oil resistant high strength as well, but that's not in all cases. It only depends which manufacturer you use as well. So what I'm going to do now is going to fit this bar onto there now. Once the bars are on the yokes, I will tighten everything back up again a bit more, and I will then I will check the headstock bearings, see how tight they are, and I'll pin over the locating loop on the thingy. This is to stop them backing off. See the little locating which is flat at the moment, it needs to be bent upwards, do the downwards on this case. So I can check from the other side, but one bends up, one bends down, every other one, and that is secured basically. They won't back off from one to the other, and then I will put the top yoke on and bolt everything up, and then I can start putting the electronic switch gear on, plug other things that needs to be plugged in on. So I'll get back to you shortly. Hello again. Hi. I'm going to show you top yoke in a minute, but what I wanted to bring to, you know, we was talking about the other day that when you're using disc bolts, only to use titanium or stainless steel, aluminium. Sorry, no, that was the caliper bolts. Aluminium are not to be used for caliper bolts, because they will brake when you slam the brakes on hard. There's a lot of like grab on that disc, and that could potentially snap a bolt, if not bend a bolt. So you use stainless or you use titanium bolts on that. But as it comes to the disc, you do tend to run from manufacturer aluminium bolts, but I've put titanium blue anodized coloured look ones in. Now they also thread lock them in with red high strength thread lock, which I've done so on this as well. But if you do go to take your front wheel off, another little note is you can get a stand that sits into a little hole that is underneath. If I can get to it, there we go. A little hole underneath the fork. You get a stand that sits in there, sits in that hole on either side. Unfortunately, I don't like using them. As you can see from the marks on that one, they can slip quite easy. I would advise, obviously you put it on a rear paddock stand first, but I would advise to try and get some help when you do that, because it is quite a weighty bike to lift, and it's quite difficult to make sure they're perfectly lined up at the same time. And once you've got it on a stand, there's also another option, of another stand, which I tend to use more. It's called a yoke stand. It sits in there, comes through underneath between your fender and your headlamp, and any under panels you got on there, and then it lifts it up so you can change fork stanchions at the same time. Which I didn't use in this case for putting these on. I actually lifted it from the rafters in my garage. Now the problem is with some of them, the one I've got is quite difficult. It does push on the underside of the headlight unit, so I only tend to use it when I'm using it on my drag bike, because I don't have any underpiece on there, so it's a bit easier for me to get to things when I need to get to them quickly, more than anything. There's no real great reason for it. But also, if you're taking the front wheel off, just take these two pinch bolts out this side, which this is the right hand side. Don't take the ones out the left hand side. The left hand side has a collar, you could almost class it as like a nut that sits on the shaft. This is the shaft side. Now that, as long as the pinch bolted in on that, you will not need to have an Allen key either side of the bike. You will just need one this side, and the size of that Allen key I think is a 22mm. Let me see if I've got one here. Yeah, I've got a 22mm socket type Allen key, but you can get a device where I don't know where mine is at the moment, from any good motorcycle supplier, parts supplier, which will have all the Allen key sizes on for all bikes, and it will also have at the end normally a 1/2 inch or a 3/4 drive end to put on. This has unfortunately more than 1/2 inch. This is an inch drive one, so this is designed for really heavy stuff. I got this kit mainly working on wagons in the motor trade, but it comes in handy for that job as well. Now, as I'm going up, pinch bolts have changed to put the blue ones again. Try and stand up here and bear with me. It might be a bit wobbly because I am actually just in the wheelchair at the moment, trying to stand steadily. Oh yeah, mine is alright. And at the top, I have put, these are loose at the moment because I found putting them on with these on, these top halves on, it was gripping on too much, so I slacked them up and it seemed to fall a bit easier through the yokes. Now that is the position that Kawasaki, according to their manual, the height of the forks to go in, which always seems a bit strange to me because you can see bare aluminium on the inside. Now me with drag racing, I've always had it a lot higher. Now that's probably why before on the last little clip of video that I was saying that they should go a lot higher. But I did check the manual before I put these in, and that is the height they recommend that. Now because this is going to be a roll bike, I want it back as the standard height. If anything, if you want quicker steering, you can raise the rear ride height. Unfortunately, there's no rear ride height adjustment on the standard shock, but on the shock I'm putting in there is. I found with my old ZX7R bike I had, if I raised it by 10mm, the handling was so much quicker, but the other downfall to that is you're pushing more weight over the front end which if you do extreme hard braking, there's potential it could wash out a bit. And also on my ZX7R I run a lot harder, a lot softer tyre than what I'm running here at the moment. I'm running Pirelli Angel GTs at the moment. I probably will change to something a bit different, only more because it was more hard wearing and there's still good reports of good grip. Someone would say the Metzeler Storms are good for these bikes as well. But I'm still going to look around and have a look at various different things. On my other bikes, I tend to run Pirelli Diablo Rosso 3s at the moment. Not the super courses, just the standard Rosso 3s. I think with my lighter bikes, I think I might run the super courses on, because they are a hell of a lot more grippier than the standard Rosso 3s. Right, I'm going to get off, do a bit more, and I will get back to you shortly. Hi again, this is me for tonight now. It's gone 8 o'clock now, fireworks are going on outside. It's probably more like 8:30 now. As you can see, I have fitted my switchgear this side, and they loosely put the clutch master cylinder on. I've disconnected the pipes off from it because I will bleed it through, and loosely put my, it's so I know where the wiring goes, my heater grips on that side. I haven't put the handlebar on this side yet, as of yet. I've put my push button gear change, red button this side is down the box, so you go to first, and then second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and then back down this way again, through the gearbox. This is a race style switch gear, so as you're racing along, you cannot inadvertently press the wrong button. You should know it's going to be down this way and up that way. On the road versions, sometimes they have the two buttons on the same side, but you shouldn't be changing gear as quickly or as furiously as you would do normally on the racetrack. But I've got used to this style, so I will be sticking with this style. I think there's only one vehicle of mine that hasn't got this style, and that was my very first one. Well, actually no, this the second one. This is the first one, my second one, but I had this adapted for racing at one point. Anyway, I've done that. I've changed the bolts. I've put the nice new bolts in the top, as probably what I spoke to earlier about. I've put the switch gear on that side. I have put the brake master cylinder on as well, and I've wired everything up. I've fed the throttle cables through to the other side, but not connected them up as of yet, because as I say, that's still loose. I still need to tighten everything up. I'll need to pull up the switch gear a lot further, but the other end is over here. Sorry for the quick change of direction on camera. The reason why I have one tape like that is throttle blipper. The throttle blipper on my system pushes against the return side of pushes against the throttle, and if you have the return side on, your hands will inadvertently try to stop it, and it could cause you no end of trouble. But as long as you keep on top that your cables are in good condition, you should have no issues at all with it. The only vehicle of mine that doesn't have that is my H2, because it has an electronic fly-by-wire system, so the electronically it's been thingied so that the blip will blip electronically. So depending, you can feel it through the handlebar. It's quite weird, quite strange feeling really. You can feel it through it a little bit, but only a minute amount, and it doesn't affect the way it goes, because as I say, it's electronically done. I think that's pretty much what I've done on this side. I'll switch off and I'll show you what I've done on the other side. Well, actually, as I go around the back of the vehicle, actually I might be able to do it in one. Yeah, there we go. I have put the rear wheel on for now, and loosely put it on for now really. I put the 42 rear sprocket, as that's standard on these on. I might go away with the gold one and either run a silver one. Probably run a silver one, because that's one I use from racing, but it's on for now until I can order what I need to order. I still need to order the chain, as you can see from that. I've put silver titanium adjusters on as well. These are the standard aluminium adjusters at the moment. I am unsure whether I'm going to change them to something like titanium or something more polished up. I don't know. The thing is, the more I go around this vehicle, the more I see the paint starting to chip, which is a bit upsetting really.
As really, I was going to go the powder coat route, and I was advised by someone, can't remember who now, to try to go for painted route, but I should have stuck to my instincts. But saying that, as long as it lasts a certain length of time, I will at a later date know when through when to strip it off. And I do know of a powder coating company that's quite close that will do anything I need to do. Yeah, as I say, that's that side. I'm trying to move around and push everything at the same time. I'm on a computer at the moment. On this side, I've loosely put it on. As you may notice, you ZZR14 people and lovers, that brake pipe is in totally the wrong way. The reason for that is this vehicle was extended with extenders, and where the rear tyre is where the end of the swing arm came. So to make the brake cable longer, we turned it the other way around, because really the cable routes along the top and arcs round, which is the way I will do it again. Some people say, well, about changing the brake line and using something a bit longer, but because it's an ABS system, they're on blocks like that, where you've got a hard line coming in to one side, bolted to obviously a device that holds it, and then you have a braided, or in normal standard circumstances, a rubber brake pipe coming off from there. Now, for me to do that at the time, there was only Hell that could do the braided ones with the blocks, but they only done them in standard length. I suppose if I really got onto the case and spoke to them, I could probably have had something ordered to suit to fit. But on my drag bike, I have the ABS system not working really on that anymore. The pump is still there, but it pumps away at nothing if it does anything. So I run just conventional lines like I used to do years ago, which I had no issues before. Oh, on the other side, turn and moving again, I was going to show you the part of the tyre when I had my little incident. As you can see from there, if it will focus in on, there we go. That, it was either where it broke away or regripped, possibly where it regripped, because if you can see further up the tyre, there's a bit of a line on the edge where it seems to have spun a bit before. It seems to stop at that point there, and then it starts again. So it sort of regripped and threw me off. And it's always when it regrips is the problem. It's always when it regrips it throws you off, if anything. You can see it's right the way even up to here, sort of thing. It could be where it was slightly locked up for a bit as well. But more likely when it went down, because there's all sorts of different directions of thingy. At the moment I use that tyre for doing a lot of dyno work. That's why if you look at the top of the tyre, it's pretty much squared off. It's been on the dyno a lot with my drag bike and my road bike. I'll probably get it mapped on that tyre, and then I'll probably get a few new, a new set of tyres for the vehicle. I'm not sure what I'm going to use. And going back to the front other half of the switch gear, as I say, I've done that there. You can see where the bar was damaged. Try and get it to focus in again. Sometimes you put your finger at it, it'll focus in on it. Focus in. No, it doesn't want to do it this time. Now it has. Yeah. As you see, that's where obviously that bar come down. I do have a new set of ASV levers, but I have also been toying with going for Brembo master cylinders, and which come with levers obviously. I'm thinking of a 19 on this side there. Is it an RSC or RCS 19? And I think they do run a 16 for the other side, which apparently really complement the Brembo monoblocks that I've got. So that could be an option, but then again it might not be an option. And it's pretty much it's been just stuff like that tonight. I've changed the bolts to the fork stanchions. Oh, and yeah, a note on I was saying again on the discs, as I said earlier, they recommend you be using threadlock, red threadlock, and I would also say on the sprocket to do the same. I always have done myself. In racing I tend to use blue because I'm always changing sprockets on and off all the time. But don't do what a friend of mine did once for me, thinking he was helping. He put copper slip on, my front brake bolts, and not a little of it, a lot of it, thinking it would be easier to get them off again when I go to, and I said, yeah, it would be easy getting them off again, and it probably more likely come off again while I'm riding, and then I would be in a very sticky situation more than one way. So we had a bit of a chuckle about that, but good job I spotted the copper slip. I do try and check everything myself before I go racing, even though I get exhausted, and I could just let, if anyone wants to help me, let them help me, but it's not always the best situation really, because you just don't know what's, you know, the situation could be. Right, and that's it for tonight. I'm going to get off. I still have the rear under. Oh yeah, sorry, there's one other thing I did as well. I changed the rear shock back to the Max and Engineering one, so that is nicely fitted now, and everything is all bolted up tightly there now, because everything was left loose until I had put that back on again. So that's all tightly bolted. All the bottom half of the suspension is bolted up. The swing arm isn't bolted up fully yet. This is the castle nut I was telling you about. It goes on there, and then you have a socket, special socket like that. This is not actually the one for it. This is actually the ZX12 one, but it does just fit in the frame, just. So being careful, you would tighten that all the way up to tighten that against the frame, and that'll pull on the threaded bit that's already threaded in the frame, but it's pushed against the swing arm. So there's no way it can pull it out, and then you have a nut that goes on the other side, which is not on yet, which is another job I've got to do. So that'll be hopefully a job for tomorrow as well. So that's it for now. Sorry for the very long last video, but that's it for tonight, and I will catch up with you again shortly. And as I say again, please subscribe if you can, and share to your heart's content. Some people, I've already had a couple of people message saying they've learnt a lot from my videos, so that is good news that someone's learning something from the videos. As I say, I've still got the under tray to change, so I'll probably have the rear wheel out again for that anyway. But I just wanted to make sure everything bolted up correctly before I started messing about too far and bolting things up permanently. Okay, I'll catch up with you again shortly. Good night for now.